creation of the European Union in 1992 was the endpoint of a long process of integration that began in 1945. In many ways, it was a remarkable achievement. Why was it remarkable? Well, first of all, everything in European history up to this point had been a history of the creation of sovereign nation states. And in 1992, with the European Union, you had an extraordinary thing. A group of nations came together to surrender a portion of their sovereignty and submit to the authority of a supranational organization that contained executive functions, a president, it had a parliament, it had an international court, and it had a unified economy with its own currency. That's remarkable. It's remarkable also because it was driven by two nations, France and Germany, who had been at war for 3 times since 1870. Franco-Prussian War, the First World War, and the Second World War. Now, we shouldn't think that Europeans did this because they were feeling particularly generous. Everybody involved in this did this because they perceived it to be in their national interest. First of all, the context of the Cold War and the division of Europe into separate spheres by the Soviet Union in the East and a region dominated by the United States in the West, or allied with the United States in the West, meant that the number of states who could join in this union in its early years was rather small. And the fact that it was small made it possible. It was in the national interest of the United States to foster the economic redevelopment of Europe in the aftermath of the war, and they did so with the Marshall Plan. This gave some of the money to rebuild the economies. It was in the national interest, or believed to be in the national interest, of France and Germany to find some way of cooperating with one another. Now, the common market was created in 1958. It was so successful that many other nations asked to join. And in some ways, the sad thing about the endpoint of this story, the creation of the European Union in 1992, was that it occurred at a moment of crisis in Europe, the collapse of the Soviet Union. And one of the first things that the European Union was forced to do was accommodate itself to the new reality, the possibility that these other states, which had been under the Soviet sway, could now petition to join. Many of them did. But still today, the European Union has a very uncertain eastern border. Should it include the Ukraine? Should it include Turkey? If it includes those two, could it include Morocco or Tunisia as well? Where does Europe stop? Those kinds of questions mean that Europe has quite a few things to deal with in the future. And unfortunately, the European Union has also shown itself to be limited in its ability to contain crisis. Another example might be the civil wars in Yugoslavia, in which the European Union seemed powerless to stop the spread of ethnic cleansing. The European Union hasn't solved the problem of national sovereignty, but they have offered a vision of a possible future whose success really remains to be demonstrated.